Hello, class. This is Mr. Eggleston, and I'm sorry, class began and I had to stop my discussion of these inequalities. Okay, here's example D. Remember, the big takeaway from the last example was if you have a negative variable, which means when you're solving, you're going to end up dividing or multiplying by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality sign, which is something that most students will forget. So don't be one of those students. So here's just another example of a somewhat complicated, not too bad, inequality. All right, so again, just like with any other problem, we have to distribute and simplify, whatever can be simplified. So I'm going to distribute the 2 on the right. So that becomes 2 times 5 is 10 and minus 4k. Over here is 16 minus 7k. All right, now let's hook up the variables. So why don't we add 7k to both sides? Now, the reason I'm adding 7k and not 4k is because I like to keep my variable positive. So when you do this, you get 16 is less than or equal to 10 plus 3k. All right, subtract 10 from both sides. You get 6 is less than or equal to 3k. And then lastly, you divide by 3 and you get 2 is less than or equal to k. Now, whenever you graph the solution, what this is saying, this is written backwards from what it should be. But I think this is a little bit easier to take care of than to have to remember to flip your inequality symbol. Because if I went the other way, I'd have to divide by a negative number, which means the inequality will flip. So let's write this in the way, you should always write your solution with the variable on the left. So this is going to be k, and just make sure that the inequalities, since it's eating the k and pointing to the 2, when we switch the side that k is on, you have to make sure it's still eating the k and pointing towards the 2. When it's written like this, k is greater than or equal to 2, it's a lot easier to graph the solution set. All right, so that would be this. Here's my number line. Just write down 2, and then a number larger, oops, sorry, that looks horrible, and a number less than 2. All right, it's greater than or equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle on 2, and greater than means we point to the right, because to the right is all numbers larger than 2. And there's your solution, both the graph and the written expression. All right, E and F are both kind of ugly. Matter of fact, I'm just going to do one of these. Well, no, I'll do both. Notice it's a little bit ugly, kind of like me in the morning. You have to simplify the right, which means we have to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the negative 5. So we get negative 5x minus 20. Here, kind of hard because there's no number there. So why don't you put a little 1 there to remind you have to distribute the negative 1. So negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. And then we still have this negative 25. Lots of negatives. All right, combine like terms, so negative 5x minus 1x is negative 6x. And then we have negative 20 minus 5, and that's negative 25. And this is negative 25 over here. Now this is a 2-step problem. Notice our variable is negative over here, so you got to be careful. What we're going to do is add 25 to both sides. And lo and behold, negative 25 plus 25 right here is 0. So we have 0 on the left is less than negative 6x. Notice my variable is negative. So when I divide by a negative 6, okay, you end up with 0 divided by negative 6 is still 0. And then we have x. But because the variable, the number we divide by was negative, right? Because the variable was negative. that means the inequality symbol has to flip directions. So now x is 0 is greater than x. I recommend switching it so x is on the left. So it's the same thing as saying x is less than 0. So to graph this on a number line, we just need 0 in the middle, that's our boundary point, and then number larger than 0 and less than 0, so 1 and -1. All right, so x is less than 0 means we're going to have a open circle because it's less than. It does not include the boundary point, and we point to the left. All numbers to the left of 0, all negative numbers. All right. Again, you just gotta be careful. You're simplifying. You gotta watch your signs, and in the end, like right here, you have to realize, hey, I have to divide by a negative number, which means this inequality symbol will have to flip around. All right, last one. Here we go, because I'm in class and my students are getting restless. They don't like having to be quiet. So here we go. Distribute, simplify the right, distribute, including the negative sign. And so we have this. We have 2 times 6n is 12n. We have 2 times -8 is a -16. We have -4 times 1 is -4. And -4 times 3n is -12n. All right, I'm done with the distributive property. Now combine like terms. So let's see. This should have been 12n. Wow, that would have been a big major mistake because that was 2 times 6n. It's 12n. So we have 12n minus 12n. They sum to 0. Okay, so those are gone. And we're left with a statement that is -20 greater than, now combine -16 minus 4. Is -20 greater than -20? No, it's not. This is false because -20 is equal to -20. So this is one of those odd problems. So since you have a false statement that -20 is greater than -20, we say no solution. Okay, so there you go, and you saw a bunch of examples of solving linear inequalities. Have a great day. Bye-bye.